Hey everybody, this is Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Josh, and over there is the cousin Eddie to my Clark Griswold.
Chris.
Shitter's full, Chris.
Shitter's full. National Lampoons. Christmas Vacation, specifically. No, he's
that
in
one
others.
is Chris. Well, he's in like every one of them, but
Yeah,
except for Europe. Yeah, actually, he's not in European Vacation.
Good point.
But yeah, he's in every single one but European Vacation. And I'm not counting the new one, whatever that one was, like just Vacation. That like soft reboot, whatever they were trying to do.
I don't know of it, yeah.
Why can't Hollywood come up with new ideas, Chris? They're like so scared to try something new. And instead we just get their same recycled crap over and over and over again.
It would appear
and they wonder why people don't go to theaters. I'm like, because you keep recycling stuff. Just come up with new ideas. We want to see new stuff. We want to see new good ideas. Take chances. Sometimes they don't work out, but guess what? Sometimes the dumbest things in the world, RoboCop, become amazing successes.
That's a good movie.
But like it was not lauded. Like the people did not want to make it. They wanted Paul Verhoeven to like.
It was a bit over the top with
really
violence and.
It was even worse. The original cut.
Gore, I guess you could call it. Yeah, the whole melting scene. Oh my god.
Yeah,
the car explodes him. Oh, that's so classic. I love it.
Yes. So, yeah, say Hollywood, like take some chances. Sometimes you will come out with a gold mine, I think the original RoboCop was like cost like $20 million. I mean, that's what, like probably like 45 million nowadays. That's ridiculous. Anyways, Chris, how are you doing tonight? Other than screwing around,
I had my mic was facing slightly the wrong direction.
Whatever.
So
you and your tomfoolery over there.
Nope, that could have been one of the reasons I was cutting out earlier. Anyway, I am doing amazing. How about you?
Yeah, all right.
A little under the weather, I believe you said.
A little bit, yeah. Throats are a little scratchy. Probably due to the weird weather change and daylight savings time. Can we just get rid of it? Like, I don't know why, but it seems like every single year it just seems to affect me worse and worse. I know that's called getting old, but still.
Yeah, it's like the sun starts setting at like 4:30 p.m. It's like dark by 5 or 5:15 or something crazy like that now.
It's freaking depressing, man.
It is. That's what Winter Wonderland is for here in the Midwest. Depression.
Yay.
Exactly.
Yay. All right, Chris, I believe you got some news for us.
That I do. Let's start right off the bat with the headliner, if you want to call it. Oh, reminder, folks, we have 4 teams on bye this week. Ravens, Bengals, Patriots, and Jets. On to the news. Colts are naming, they fired Frank Reich, and they're naming their former...
Good riddance.
Yeah, exactly. They're naming their former 6-time Pro Bowl center and ESPN analyst Jeff Saturday as their interim head coach.
Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, Saturdays on Sundays. He has been a consultant for the team and is in the Ring of Honor, and also is a head coach for the Hebron Christian Academy football team in Tacoma, Georgia. Right. Okay. Yeah. Very qualified.
You made that up.
No, I didn't. I literally copied and pasted it from that. I believe it's Schefter's tweet. I'm telling you.
I don't believe you.
It's not Dracula. It's Dacula. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but I don't care.
I think it was called Dracula.
No, it's Dacula. That'd be funny if it was Dracula and it was a Christian Academy.
Or if it really was Dracula and it was a typo.
That would be. That's what I'm saying. That would be hilarious. On to, I guess, more, actual players. No Matthew Stafford at practice for the second straight day, meaning Wednesday and Thursday. He is in the concussion protocol.
That popped up in the middle of the week too. Yep. That's a little concerning.
After a conversation with like the team doctor / trainer or something. Yeah. So, older guy too. You got to remember that.
The doctor? Yeah, I don't care how old he is.
I knew you were going to say that. Another day of no practice for Bills quarterback Josh Allen with his elbow issue. Tell me, both those guys are looking, not literally doubtful, but they're not looking very promising to be playing. So keep that in mind.
Stafford's play hasn't been very promising all year.
Kyler Murray, hamstring, is practicing on Thursday. On to running backs. Zeke Elliott, knee, remains limited on Thursday.
Before you continue, everything I've read is that he is expected to play this week.
Yeah, probably. The fact that he's getting in a limited session on Thursday, they feel pretty good.
Like they were talking like so that before the bye, like right after because he missed week 8, they were saying that if he had to play in week 9, he could have, but it just happened to follow on their bye week, and then they expected him to come back in week 10. That too, and well, no, they said that he was still going to sit out week 8, but they said the thing I read said that if he had to play in week 9, he could have. It just happened to have the bye that week, and that is expected to come back this week. Everything is all pointing that way. So if you have Zeke, whoopity do. Who are they playing? The Packers?
Yep, at Green Bay, I believe. Yep.
Interesting.
Colts. More Colts news. Running back Jonathan Taylor was upgraded to a full participant at practice today, Thursday. While backup Deion Jackson missed a second straight day with a knee injury. Taylor is on track to return Sunday versus the Las Vegas Raiders.
So it sounds like Deion Jackson is pretty questionable, and JT is pretty good to go.
Precisely. Onward and upward. Kyron Williams, Rams running back, I believe. No, I get him and the Green Bay guy confused. Yeah, it's the Rams guy. To return week 10 versus the Cardinals.
He has yet to be activated from the IR, though.
Exactly. Harbaugh, Ravens expects Gus with his hamstring to be back in week 11. But hey, what's his face? Drake has been pretty good.
Surprisingly.
Texas
Ravens offensive line, pretty good.
Yeah. Texans running back Dameon Pierce was added to the injury report with a chest and shoulder issue and was limited today at practice. That's a report from Wednesday. So he was limited on Wednesday. I don't have a Thursday update for him at this time. Packers wide receiver Romeo Doubs has a high ankle sprain. Source said those are generally 4 to 6 weeks, though further tests will determine the time frame.
Dropped him in pretty much every league I had him in because of that.
Yeah, well, that and Aaron Rodgers playing like Dookie.
Big old doo-doo.
Rondale Moore, receiver for the Cards with a hand injury, gets in a full session Thursday. Good news there. He's been pretty decent lately. The Titans have designated rookie wide receiver Traylon Burks to return from IR. He will practice today. Again, a report from Wednesday.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Keep your radar up for that. Yep, radar goes up.
I mean, literally it does, yes.
Keenan Allen with his hamstring did not practice as per usual on Thursday.
And
I don't think I read it.
I don't think he was going to play this week anyways. Guess who was out for this week too?
Still Mike Williams?
Still Mike Williams. Sorry, that was probably the next thing.
I'm glad you added that because I didn't have anything on him.
Yeah, he is. What was it? Their head coach Brandon Staley said like today that I saw a tweet about it. Is that he said that Mike Williams is more week to week than day to day. So, man, that means he's probably going to miss next week too. And if
cannot get healthy, man.
Yeah, man, it's been a frustrating year for the Chargers, but. You know, I think
Herbert's the quarterback 11. Like, what the heck, man?
Well, their offensive line is banged up, especially their left tackle. Their wide receivers are banged up and have been all year. It's just their offense or their defense has been banged up or bad. And yeah, it's been a lost season for the Chargers, more or less.
That was Keenan Allen. McCole Hardman. This is kind of threw me for a loop during a bit of my research, potentially wanting to include him. But McCole Hardman with an abdomen is not practicing Thursday, so that's a little worrisome. He's been pretty hot lately in terms of, I think it's like scored 3 out of 5 games or something. He's been pretty good for fantasy.
Something like that.
Juju's been better, but hey. The Raiders are placing wide receiver Hunter Renfrow with an oblique injury and tight end Darren Waller with a ongoing hamstring injury on IR, meaning both players will miss at least the next 4 games.
Are the Raiders packing it in for the year? It almost seems like it.
Looking like that. If you can't get Waller healthy,
guess what that means for potentially Devontae Adams and my dynasty team. It's a bad matchup this week, but still.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's all I got for the news. Anything I missed, you think? Besides one of them I didn't have a Thursday update for.
No. Not that I'm aware of, at least.
Pierce. That was the only. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, one more news thing, then it's barely quantifies as news. Sam Ellinger is going to be the Colts quarterback still moving forward despite their new head coach. This has to be coming from the front office. This has to be GM front office mandated.
AKA Irsay.
Yeah.
He had a lot of, I've been around 20 years. I know how to build a franchise, yada, yada. I was like, aren't you the owner? What?
Don't you pay people to do that?
Pierce was also limited today, Thursday. So he might play then.
Interesting.
Big, tough guy.
Alrighty then, Chris. You want to start or you want me to? You just talked, I'll go first.
Exactly.
Okay, I have the running backs this week. Let's start towards the top of the list here as far as where these running backs rank on the season, and that would be Miles Sanders. This seems like a bit of a cheat this week, Chris, so you just have to bear with me. It was really rough trying to find... It was a week where like those superstar running backs had really easy matchups, or like the mediocre ones had really bad matchups. So it was really hard to find like guys that I really love this week, that weren't just like, of course you're starting Christian McCaffrey versus whoever they're playing. Like, come on, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we try not to harp on that too much when it comes to low-hanging fruit, but we definitely want to include some smash starts here and there.
Yeah, this is definitely a smash start. I mean, you're good if you have Miles Sanders. You've been very happy with him this year. He's currently the RB16 according to Sleeper's half PPR ranks. He's got a juicy matchup this week. I thought that Sanders still needed a little bit of love here. I feel like there's a lot of, I don't know, for some reason I've been seeing Kenny Gainwell's name being floated around a lot. Maybe it's more in Dynasty than anything else. It's hard to say. I read a lot.
Yeah, it might be Sanders' contract situation is up in a year or two.
And perhaps it's more real football related than like it was like fantasy football, But I don't know. So I kind of took the middle road with Sanders here, He only has 2 games less than 10 fantasy points so far this year, and 3 with more than 15. So there's been some real, average games, but that gets you to RB16. He's been a RB2 and a pretty solid one at that. Hasn't really cost you a lot of weeks. He's averaging 16.3 attempts per game. That's pretty darn good. That's good usage right there in this day and age in fantasy football. The problem with Sanders is that he's barely involved in the passing game. Pretty much none of the running backs in Philly are. I mean, can you really blame him though when you have Dallas Goedert at tight end and AJ Brown and Devonta Smith on the outside?
And you're a run heavy team. And Gainwell, I believe, was a receiver for a year or so in college, if I'm not mistaken.
What was that, at Memphis, Kentucky?
Yep, same place Gibson went. Yep.
Yeah. But Gainwell's not really getting all that much receiving work either. So they're just running the ball and throwing to their tight end and wide receivers. I mean, wouldn't you? I'm just saying. So I like Miles Sanders this week. Washington's giving up 17.9 points per game to a running back. So that's good. That's good. Sanders is the main man in Philly, and he should be your at least RB2 this week. Maybe he is your main man if you went late RB. And in your draft.
Agreed. My first guy, I'm going to kind of continue what I've been doing lately and go in order, kind of best start to, worst, I guess. I've got Amon-Ra St. Brown versus the Chicago Bears. Okay, out. He has not been good fantasy wide receiver for weeks. About 7 weeks to be approximate.
It's actually pretty true.
But let me explain.
Week
4 was missed due to injury. Week 5, his snaps were limited, returning from said injury, where he only played 32% of snaps. Week 6 was a bye week. Week 7, he played a great defense, Dallas, who is middle of the road versus fantasy receivers, but third best in passing yards surrendered, first in sacks. But more importantly, that's the week he left with quote, concussion-like symptoms and was not allowed to return.
He had to poop.
Yeah. Then he got back to his high-volume ways in Week 8 and Week 9, averaging 96% snap share, 9.5 targets, yet only 5.5 receptions, 62 yards, and 0 touchdowns over that 2-week span. But he gets the Bears this week, which season-long actually looked decent versus wide receivers, ranking 12th in fantasy points per game given up to wide receivers and 15th best in passing yards surrendered. But they have been awful the last few weeks since dismantling their defense and sending Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn packing. They've given up huge days to Ty Hill, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Jefferson. And with the second highest over-under this week of 48.5 points, I expect points in this game. In fact, I think it's a tad low. I think we're looking at a shootout between two struggling defensive teams. That puts Amon-Ra in the top 10 for me this week. Also, pay attention to how well this goes because he gets the Bears again in championship week, week 17. So yeah, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, top 10 guy for me this week. Bounce back, baby, bounce back.
Did you call Robert Quinn Robert Smith?
Hope not.
Pretty sure you did. I don't know who Robert Smith is, but I'm pretty sure you meant Robert Quinn.
The guy from The Cure. That's who.
I was I was kind of listening to you, and I kind of like faded out for a second. I was watching the game, and I'm like, wait, did he just say Robert Smith?
I can't wait to listen to the edit. Robert Quinn, to be clear, folks. Or you could go Robert Smith, the running back from Minnesota Vikings from, I don't know, a decade ago.
Anyways,
like 10 years ago.
That's more than 10 years ago, dude. 10 years ago was Adrian Peterson.
It was the Randall Cunningham. Yeah, you're probably right.
That's like 20 years ago, buddy. Pretty close. Anyways, my next guy is actually a couple of guys, and that would be the tandem of the Dolphins running backs. They're going up against the Cleveland Browns this week. This backfield got pretty ugly pretty quick last week with the addition of Jeff Mostert, or Jeff as I shall refer to him from now on.
You just called him Jeff Mostert.
So
it's like
they're kind of one guy.
If Mike McDaniel could have his druthers, he just merged them together.
Say infusion dance. Come on, dude. Anyways, like I was saying, Mostert was out-snapped, out-touched, out-targeted, and out-caught by Jeff.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Mike McDaniel was just, playing with his newly acquired running back toy. But yes, Jeff beat out Mostert in all those categories, but it was still just barely in every single case. Like it was like one more catch and like one more target and like 5% more snaps. It was barely. It was pretty like right down the middle, except for like if you looked at it side by side, the scale actually leans in Jeff's favor. And last week, Jeff outscored Raheem. He outscored him 14.7 to 8.6 PPR, of course. Anyways, the difference maker was that efficiency for him. And Jeff also caught all 3 of his targets for 27 yards. Raheem averaged just 2.8 yards per carry, which is his lowest since week 3. But Mostert has a 4.35 yards per carry in the season. So I really like both of them this week. With the Dolphins getting the Browns, like I mentioned earlier, they're very bad. They're giving up the 5th most points to running backs. It's like over 20 points per game. So there's definitely some points to be had by both these guys. And I like both of them. And so if you have Jeff or Raheem, play either one of them, I say.
Sounds good. I like it.
They're gonna get touches. I almost made Jacoby Brissett my like sleeper of the week, and I was just like, I just can't. He doesn't do enough. He's a really solid backup quarterback, and there's nothing wrong with being a solid backup quarterback.
I took a glance at him.
He's just not a starter. He is not a starter at all. Who's your next guy, Chris?
My next guy is Juju Smith-Schuster versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Juju's starting to look a little bit like the old Steelers Juju. He's been on a decent streak lately. The last 3 weeks, he's averaging a 75% snap share, 8.3 targets per, 7.3 receptions per, 108.3 yards, and scored in 2 out of those 3 weeks. He gets a Jags defense fresh off giving up 10 catches and 146 yards and 2 touchdowns to Devontae Adams. That also ranks 9th worst in fantasy points per game given up to wide receivers, and has given up the 8th most passing yards on this season. Juju is a smash play this week and a clear-cut low-end wide receiver 1 / high-end wide receiver 2 for me. All about that action.
Okay.
Quick little add on to that. Reminder, folks, McCall Hardman hasn't practiced Wednesday or Thursday. And I feel like, what's his name? Kadarius Toney is still getting integrated, if you will.
Yeah, I'm worried that this is just a
throwaway kind of like, hey, let's see if something happens. And yeah,
everyone freaks out about.
I started including McCall Hardman, but I don't think he's going to play. So I went.
Yeah. Okay. Next up on the docket, the doc, as the kids like to say, is Jamal Williams. You talked about him on St. Brown. I got J-Will this week. Last week versus Miami, the Bears let Jeff and Raheem score over 20 fantasy points. I feel like J-Will and Swift are a better running back duo, so they potentially have a chance for more points. Swift should play and would be involved, but once again, like last week, how much is he going to play? I'm guessing that Jamal will probably still get the bulk of the workload again, but you're still starting Swift regardless, just because of how great he was at the beginning of the season. Yeah. But to further inspire you to start J-Will, no matter Swift's usage, the Bears are giving up the 4th most fantasy points per game to running backs, the 5th most rushing yards, and tied for the 3rd most rushing touchdowns. Rushing touchdowns, especially the goal line, is J-Will's jam.
It's a specialty, yep.
Don't hesitate. Play him, mate.
Nice. And
Chris, we got a question in chat here, asking for a friend. Do you like your oldest or youngest daughter more?
Both, sir. I will go with
Nope, you have to pick one.
Nope, not gonna do it.
All right, then. Wait, we have to choose. I'm gonna go oldest. She was the first.
What was I gonna say about the Lions? Oh, and I expect points. Again, going back to my Amon-Ra St. Brown analysis, there is I expect it to be a bit of a shootout, and with division opponents, bad defenses. And
we'll probably have another person. We'll probably have another person in this game that we'll be talking about a little later on.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Anyway,
is it Darnell Mooney?
Nope.
Jerk. You really missed out on an opportunity to have Darnell Mooney be what you hate. Darnell Mooney.
That's not what are you talking
you about? Hate Darnell Mooney.
I strongly considered him as one of my fave fives, and I steered clear for I don't remember why. I just did.
I wanted to talk about DJ Moore, even though he's playing right meow.
Well, there was that's very tiny error that was omitted before we started the show. Thanks for calling that out. Next up, I'm going to give you Chris Olave versus the Steelers. He has been the heart and soul of the Saints passing attack and ranks 14th amongst wide receivers in average targets per game with 9 per. He gets a Steelers team that, while getting healthier on defense, has still been absolutely awful versus the pass. They rank 4th worst in passing yards surrendered, dead last in both fantasy points per game given up to wide receivers and passing touchdowns allowed on the year. Moreover, in the last 5 weeks, they've given up the 4th most receptions, the most yards, and the most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. And while star pass rusher TJ Watt is trending in at the time of this show, and starting corner Levi Wallace was a full participant on Thursday, the other 2 starting corners, William Jackson III and Akello Witherspoon, didn't practice Thursday, along with linebacker Miles Jack. I like Olave as a top 24 wide receiver this week.
Okay. Chris, my next guy, this is not a homer pick. I legit like this. Every time I put LVR, I think it's the Rams. But Jonathan Taylor is playing the Las Vegas Raiders. Before we start, we have a quick question. Kyle asked, do I trade Higgins and Jamal for Cooper and DeAndre Swift? He already has Debo, Mike Evans, and DK. Also has Kenny Walker, and I'm assuming that's Tony Pollard and not Mike Pollard, whoever that is.
I'd rather have Higgins and Jamal. I think I'd rather have Jamal rest of season in a redraft over Swift. As crazy as that sounds, I'm just worried about them shelving Swift eventually.
Or Higgins versus Amari Cooper. Like, I think it's got to be Higgins, right?
That's exactly where I was going to go.
I mean,
I was going to check Chase.
What's his face? Hansi Makabsafioka doesn't come back. Still doesn't come back till week 13. So, I mean, what good does Amari Cooper doing next to nothing do for you?
Chase has missed two games, but is on bye this. I'm sorry, Jamar Chase has missed 2 games and is on bye this week. And remember, they chose not to put Jamar Chase on.
I still think he misses I still think he misses next week as well.
Yeah, I think I take the Higgins.
Higgins is almost arguably better with Chase out there. So
to answer your question, Kyle, no.
I would keep Higgins and Jamal.
As would I.
What if he's talking about? Man, I completely thought of. I was going to say another Jamal, and I completely forgot every single Jamal I've ever heard of in my life.
The one that used to be with the Ravens back in the day. Yeah, big
Lewis
runner. Thank you. Kyle has a follow up. How is Zeke's health? ? Pollard, a start or Jamal? I'd probably start Jamal over Pollard. I'm not going to go say Pollard isn't definitely flex worthy, if not low end. RB2, right outside the top 24, maybe.
Zeke's supposed to play.
But Zeke is supposed to play, yeah. I mean, I understand everybody's hesitation because Jerry's an idiot and a jackass, and he says Zeke's still our guy, but
he brings something to the table. It's not nothing.
Zeke will get his work. I just think maybe Pollard's starting to inch in there a little bit. But yeah, no, definitely Jamal over Pollard this week if you've got to make that choice. But Zeke is and yes, Zeke is going to play. We believe. He was limited Thursday to answer that a little bit better, Kyle. Yeah, right.
Anyways, on to Jonathan Taylor. Like I said, who is playing the Las Vegas Raiders. This was initially about Deion Jackson, and then I heard about his knee injury. So I was like, can I pivot this to Jonathan Taylor? And I said, yes.
Taylor hasn't been good, man.
No, Taylor's been miserable, and that is a big part due to his offensive line. I think that it's mainly because their center, Ryan Kelly, is kind of falling apart before our very eyes and wasn't maybe ever quite that good. I think he was a Pro Bowler 1 year, but other than that, it's just been a kind of an average. He's actually, according to PFF, he's actually below average in centers. I looked before we started. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart here or something. I'm having a stroke on air.
You're still hung up on Jamal's, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I just my brain just got stuck on Jamal's. I'm like, do I know any other Jamals? Anyway.
Okay.
And also the Colts rookie left tackle is looking like a rookie left tackle that's starting to learn how to play this position. Remember, this dude's from like Germany.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where they scrounged this guy up. He was a 3rd-round pick too. It was very odd. Anyways, I know we already talked about this, but Frank Reich is out. Jeff Saturday Night Fever is in. But I think the Colts need to get back to basics. And what are the basics in the NFL, Chris? Run the damn ball. The Raiders are giving up the 9th fewest yards on the ground, but they're giving up the 4th most targets, the 5th most receptions, and the 3rd most receiving yards to backs. And they are also tied for the 3rd most receiving touchdowns by running backs. I'm hoping that a new head coach and whatever guy that they pulled off the street to call plays is looking at this and saying, maybe that's a way that we could beat them, It sounds pretty good. Anyways, Tay should be a must play.
Sounds good.
I don't have a rhyme for every single player. I wasn't getting that clever.
Hey man, I'm all about it. That's I love it. I do that rhyming stuff all the time with my kids.
That's why I do it with you.
Yeah,
you're like my child. Only you're older than me.
Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome, son.
Am I? Alan
You're
Lazard.
hopefully at home.
Alan Lazard versus the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is middle of the road in terms of fantasy points per game. given up to wide receivers, 17th. And, but I don't know how you phrase this. Important to mention, they are allowing 1 touchdown per game to opposing wide receivers over the last 5 weeks. Lazard has caught a touchdown in 5 of his 7 games. And the Packers are, of course, without Romeo Doubs, as we mentioned earlier. And Lazard averages 7.3 targets per game and will be featured in the red zone. As I mentioned last time, I included Lazard in my Fave 5. I think Green Bay and Rodgers are looking to bounce back from an embarrassing outing, and they're at home versus the hated Cowboys. And Lazard should get his looks, again, in particular in the red zone. I like Lazard as a top 24 wide receiver this week.
That is a bold call, Chris. I'm not going to lie.
I like it. I like
Considering that your boy Trayvon Diggs is probably going to be on Lazard, okay. Here's my thing, and this is more personal than everything else. The Packers aren't very good. B,
That's fair.
Every time I've gone to bat for the Packers this year, they have bent me over and
You mean like
showed me who was boss. Al
Dylan.
Lazard, Romeo Doubs, AJ Dillon, Aaron Rodgers, if I didn't say him already, like all just Tunyon, all of them have just taken me behind the woodshed and had their way with me.
Ew.
That sounded a lot better in my head than it did coming out. Anyways, moving along, for someone who
risky, but I think you can depend on several target and probably a little more than 7 or 8 because Dobbs, I keep wanting to say Dobbs, because Dobbs is gone, and I think Cowboys are a bend don't break defense, but I think they'll probably break for old Lazard and Rodgers there once.
What would you think is more dependable this week, Alan Lazard or a good pair of Depends? I mean, it's in the name, Chris.
That's kind of an unfair comparison. I'm gonna have to go with the diapers.
Okay then. I
think it depends.
On to my last running back, or is it? It is little Lenny Fofo versus the Seattle Seahawks.
Lord have mercy.
Lenny Fofo was a bit perturbed about losing touches to Rachaad White this past week. You could easily make that everything I'm about to say for Lenny's matchup. You could easily apply it to Rachaad White. I don't hate Rachaad White this week either. I just think that there hasn't been a lot really that comes out of him playing that has amounted to anything that you can rely on for fantasy at the moment. That's why I'm sticking with Leonard Fournette this week. I think that the Bucs stick with Leonard Fournette this week. And I believe that he has been the squeaky wheel that they will give the grease. I know that's a little narrative, but the Seahawks are also giving up the 8th most points to running backs, the 3rd most receptions, and allowing the most receiving yards to running backs. Fournette's carries might be getting sniped, but he's still getting plenty of targets and doing the most with them versus Rachaad White and what he has done with his receptions. So therefore, I am sticking with Leonard Fournette this week in a good matchup for the Seahawks, who apparently can't guard a running back coming out of the backfield catching the ball.
Or tight ends.
Which is what?
Or tight ends.
Yeah, which is what Leonard Fournette has been best at this year. And frankly, has been for the last couple of years, really. And actually back to his time in Jacksonville. So I'm sticking with Fofo this week. Leonard Fournette. Against the Seahawks. Literally going to start him this week in Dynasty.
Nice. Sounds good.
Chris, I believe you have one more wide receiver, right?
Correct. This is my deepest dive. Again, that's why I save it for this for last. I put it in that order. Donovan Peoples-Jones versus the Dolphins. DPJ
not a deep dive, but okay.
I don't know. I don't have his roster percent here, but it's not that high. DPJ has
been
a solid wide receiver 2 for the Browns this season, and a fine flex play for fantasy lately.
Also a fact.
He's averaging 6.2 targets, 4.6 receptions, and 69 nice yards. But one of the reasons he's flown under the radar and hasn't popped is he hasn't scored all year long. I think that changes this week versus the Dolphins. Miami is giving up 15 passing touchdowns on the year, bad enough for 6th worst, while also giving up the 5th most passing yards and the 11th most fantasy points per game. to opposing wide receivers. Even better, he will most likely get Xavier Howard in coverage, and he has struggled mightily, giving up 6 touchdowns already, second most among all quarterbacks. Furthermore, you get the added benefit of picking him up right before Deshaun Watson makes his return in Week 13, in which the GM
I'm sorry, who?
Deshaun Watson.
Hainsey McCopsfield. Gotcha.
Hainsey McCopsfield. Right before his return in Week 13, in which the GM has already said he will start his first game that he is eligible. Moving forward, DPJ and Watson get Baltimore in Week 15 and Washington in Week 17. 2 decent to good matchups. One of those is, well, I guess both those are kind of the playoffs, huh? Week 15? Yeah, so 2 good matchups in the playoffs. I think he's, I play a little bit of narrative game here. He's your Will Fuller, from a few years ago.
He's not as fast as Will Fuller, but okay.
He's fast. Fast with size. Like you?
Was that a fat joke?
No. I'm just going to stop there.
Chris, we have a question here from Jacob Ander. He says, should I trade Najee for Judy? I say yes.
I was about to say, hasn't Judy been good lately? I was surprised to.
He's been outscoring him, Cortland Sutton in fantasy every like 3 weeks before their bye weeks, the 3 previous weeks. He's been out targeted. He's out targeted Sutton. Judy's been the better guy to have. Not saying much there, but he's been the better guy to have. Mm-hmm. If you have Najee, Jacob, and you have running backs to spare Najee for Judy. Like, you might as well, especially if you believe all that hoopla about the Raiders giving what's his name again? Guy I don't care about again. Chris, this is where you're supposed to jump in here.
I'm sorry, I don't know where you were going with the Raiders.
The running back from Pittsburgh.
Jacobs? Oh, Pittsburgh? Nope. Najee Harris?
Nope, the other one.
Jacobs? Oh, Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, that guy. That guy I don't care about. Okay.
The guy we'll talk about later.
Oh, great. Anyways, so
yeah, I think I'd probably do that. So again, like Josh said, assuming you've got the RBs to back it up, Judy's matchups moving forward. I feel like Tennessee's not great against receivers this week. He gets Vegas, Carolina. That's about it. Rams. I think Rams are bad. Week 16. Yeah.
If you believe that Judy's gonna get the guy that's not the
best coverage,
Jalen Ramsey, yeah. Dude, I don't know.
Good point.
Yeah. So I think that's a pretty fair trade. Like I said, once again, if you have the running backs to spare, otherwise just hang on to Najee and hope that maybe towards the end of the season things kind of turn around. I don't see it happening.
But get Jaylen Warren on your roster if you're going to keep Najee, or even if you're not, pick him up.
I mean, you have to. He's kind of one of those must-have handcuffs at this point. Speaking of which, can we do a quick side note here, Chris, before we continue? Sure. Mm-hmm. That if it's Saturday night, Sunday morning, and you have a roster spot to burn, pick up your Alexander Madisons. Your Tony Pollard's probably not available, but Alexander Madison probably is. Honestly, I would probably go with like JaMychal Hasty to back up ETN at this point. There's a guy I can't. Is it Brightwell in for the Giants? I would or Matt Breida, one of those two behind Saquon.
I would think it's Breida, but I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Well, I kind of like this other guy, Brightwell. I think that like Breida is Breida, and he's brittle.
Oh yeah,
and so I would actually have Brightwell better over Breida, but anyways, that's me.
I forgot who was up.
Well, we were done with our 5, but wait, Chris, wait. There's a secret 6th.
Wow, lovely.
Secret 6th. Travis Etienne versus Kansas City. Last week, when the Jags were down, they continued to run Etienne. Since trading James Robinson, or roughly the last 3 weeks, Etienne has 384 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns, but barely any receiving work. And that's pretty interesting considering that coming out of college, he was a good runner, but a great receiver. And he started out the season as kind of the passing down guy to James Robinson. I just think that like James Robinson fell off the cliff quick. And Travis Etienne kind of got up to like, they were ramping up his usage to, beat that guy for the Jags. And the Chiefs are giving up the 10th most points per game to running back. Sorry, dude, my brain has not been working today. They're also giving up the 4th most receiving yards, which normally I'd be like, hell yeah. But so far, the Chiefs, like I said, the Jags haven't been really using ATN in that way, but it doesn't mean that they can't this week, especially if they want to keep up with the Chiefs. And honestly, the recipe in the past for teams that have beat the Chiefs is run the damn ball early and often, and hopefully you can keep the ball out of Mahomes' hand long enough, and your defense can do just enough to stop him. That's been the recipe for beating the Chiefs.
I like it.
So perhaps the Jags can do that. Probably not, but I mean, the lowly Colts beat the Chiefs earlier this year.
Yeah, that's fair to mention. That's fair to mention. I think it was a different Colts team. Not that they were world beaters. I just think they're very much in the dumps lately. So a little bit different context, but yeah.
Oh, do they need a little ray of sunshine to cheer them up?
Precisely. On to the Super Stream segment, where I'm going to give you my first tight end stream of the week. Kate Otten versus the Seahawks. Here is your obligatory weekly. Exactly. Your obligatory weekly tight end stream versus the Seahawks.
I almost did.
If you need a reminder, they rank dead last, giving up the most fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends, and have given up 50 yards or a touchdown every single week to the tight end position. And Otten has been decent lately. He caught the game-winning touchdown from Brady in the fourth quarter last week and was featured in that game-winning drive. Over the last 3 weeks, he's topped 5 targets each week and topped 60 yards 2 out of those 3 weeks. So Kate Otten, my number one, not like he's the tight end one, but my number one streamer for the tight end position this week. I consider him in the top 12, like a 10 or 11 guy.
Okay. He got a touchdown last week. Otherwise, it seems pretty touchdown dependent. But I mean, it's against Seahawks, so I don't blame you.
Exactly.
Don't blame me one bit. My guy, first guy is Tyler Higbee. Higbee.
Ooh, coming off a stinker.
You task me, Higbee. You task me. The Cards, they are giving up the most tight end touchdowns, but I just score the freaking touchdown, Higbee. Just score it. You haven't yet to score a touchdown this season, and really? This has to be the week. The Rams have not used him enough in the red zone, and they should be. Higbee is in on, since week 3, he's been on 94 of the Rams snaps. He's caught all 4 of his targets for this would be last week. Oh, sorry. It's since the week 3 meeting of the Rams and Cards. Oh my God, sorry, dude, my brain not working. In the week 3 matchup with the Cards and the Rams, he was in on 94% of the snaps and caught all 4 of his targets for 61, once obviously scoreless yards since he hasn't scored a touchdown this year. I think that this is the week where he gets those coveted tight end touchdowns. At least one. I think so. Nice. Chris, who's your next guy? As I try and pick my brain up off the ground to pieces that fell out of my head.
Real quick before I push forward, Jacob chimed back in. Not a question per se. He kind of agreed with us. Tough to trust Najee. I'm hating myself for trading for him the beginning of October. Traded Pollard and Metcalf.
Oh.
That Metcalf hurts, yeah. Yeah. Hey. Probably still in it.
I mean, you can salvage it and yeah. I mean, if you look at Najee Harris's stats and just erase the name, you'd be like, ugh.
Low end RB2, maybe
at best.
Ballpark at best.
Keep going.
I have my doubts, a little big picture, but he hasn't been. Yeah, he's been bad, but he hasn't been. It's expectations. Expectations were much higher. He was a top 7 pick in most drafts. All right.
He is the RB 28 on the season.
Guess I was a little off. And they've also had their bye. Just had their bye. No. Yes.
Yep. So has Kareem Hunt, and he has scored more fantasy points and has more points per game than Najee Harris. It's by 0.2 points, but still. More points.
I'm 6'3" and in good shape, but if I had Metcalf, I'd be really good. Oh, 6-3. I thought he was making a joke about being in good shape. That's funny how that sentence kind of played out like that. I honestly thought he was making a dad joke or something.
But if I was DK Metcalf, I'd be in really good shape. Yeah, no.
I'm 6-3 and in good shape. Absolutely. Good for you, Jacob. That's awesome. I was like, I thought that was an in shape joke. I'm so weird. Okay, on to my second tight end, a streamer in the Super Stream segment, Evan Ingram. Ooh, poopy. Evan Ingram versus the Chiefs. If you want a guy you can pick up off the waivers and plug in, I give you Evan Ingram. He's a 55% rostered, and while he did struggle last week versus Raiders, he had 4 solid performances prior to that, and gets a Chiefs team allowing the 7th most fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends, and just gave up a huge 48-yard catch and run to the Titans. Here we go. Chigoziem Okonwu last week, and a big game to Kittle the game before that. And quite frankly, I expect a lot of garbage time from the Jags, given the over-under is the highest of the week at 50.5 points, and the Jags are 9.5 point underdogs. So get your garbage pails ready and suit up Mr. Evan Ingram.
Okay. My last tight end of the night is Cole Kmet.
Nice.
This is the Detroit Lions. Chris, I am totally riding on the hotness of last week.
Yeah.
But last week was also the second week in a row that Cole Kmet had a touchdown, too, if you didn't know that. And he got 2 last week. And even better than those 2 touchdowns, at least like big picture, he had a season high in targets of 6. I would love those targets, that target number to stay at 6 or go above. But, you know, the Bears, they are trusting Justin Fields more each week. They're trusting to put the ball in his hands and make smarter decisions. And, you know, honestly, he's been doing better. I saw like week 1 or 2, and Justin Fields was, I mean, I was ready to throw him in the garbage. Just crumple him up, throw him in the garbage, you know? And now I'm like pulling that Justin Fields out. I'm kind of like rolling him on the edge of the table, you know, kind of smoothing him out.
Oh, I'm excited. Like, yeah.
Maybe we'll keep you around for a little bit. Maybe we'll keep you around after all. Anyways, that was a weird like hole that I just went down. Anyways, I like Cole Kmet to stay hot since week 6. Cole Kmet's scoring has doubled or more every single week. Now, having said that, I am not saying that Cole Kmet is going to score 38 points this week. But I'm just stating a fact, Chris. But, you know, there's always that chance, right? I mean, the Detroit Lions, they are giving up the 4th most points per game to tight ends. And Cole Kmet does have 3 games so far this year with an ADOT of over 10 yards. That is average distance of target. So the Bears are trying to get him downfield in games. And they like you were saying earlier, that this game could be a bit of a shootout. A little bit. Neither one of these teams have very good defenses. I'd really like to see more targets per week from Kmet, like I said earlier. But the dude is only 23. I didn't even know he was 23. I thought he was like 24, 25. He's 23. So he has a pretty decent career ahead of him. And I think it seems a lot brighter after the last couple of weeks. So I like Kmet to, you know, at the old NBA Jam thing. He's made a couple. Can he hit 3 and become on fire?
He's on fire. Couple important things to mention. I pulled them up while you were chatting because I could have sworn one of those 2 touchdowns last week was a rushing touchdown. I was wrong. However,
I know.
To your point, you kind of touched on their run-first offense. His yardage is low, paltry, you might say. But they're giving him some end arounds. So I know it's, you know, it's not what you get a tight end for, but the targets, the touchdowns, and then the rushing attempts can help mitigate some of that low passing yardage from Mr. Justin Fields. But I'm excited about the Bears offense, clearly, especially when I get to my quarterback. Both of us are all over this Detroit-Chicago matchup because we expect it to be a bit of a points fest. I mean, Bears can't really play defense lately, dude. There's going to be points put up. And I know Detroit has struggled a bit, but I'm looking for them to bounce back.
Gee, I wonder who your quarterback is then this week.
Yeah, a tough one. I've got one honorable mention here before we move on to quarterbacks at tight end. I don't expect you guys to start him because he's playing New Orleans, but Pat Freiermuth is coming off a bye.
He has terrible quarterbacks.
Yeah,
he's
but
asked to block
Muth,
a lot.
as they call him, will get a boon in targets with Claypool gone. I just did that completely. Oh, yeah, I did do that. We were on commit. I thought I just did that backwards. With Claypool gone, he's going to get a slight boon in targets. Hopefully, in the red zone, especially.
I don't know.
And he was already 5th among tight ends in targets per game. And he gets the Falcons and Raiders in the coming weeks. 2 teams in the bottom 10.
Let's to be clear, you said that he was on bye this week, right?
No, they're coming off a bye.
Okay,
9.
but they're not playing the Falcons this week because
They're
the Falcons are playing.
Don't
right
start
now
him this week. Yeah, don't start him this week. He's also highly rostered, so he's not really a streamer at all.
Saints have a really good. Saints have a really
like
good
the best,
defense. Yeah,
exactly.
It's weird.
Technically, I think there's one other team giving up less points per game, but fantasy points per game. But yeah, so don't play him this week. I know I did that Fields thing a couple weeks ago. I just thought this was an important name to mention. He's on a lot of rosters, and people are wondering about the Pittsburgh offense, and I'm just giving a little bit of vote of confidence in the coming weeks for Mr. Freiermuth.
Chris, speaking of the Saints and the Pittsburgh Steelers, my quarterback stream of the week is Andy Dalton. Is this a revenge game for Andy Dalton? Did he play with the Steelers like last year or something? I don't know, man. I really don't care. Anyways, it's not like Dalton has been setting the world on fire, but he's had some success this year. The fact that he is playing over Jameis speaks volume about Jameis's ability to this point in his career. Dalton was a bit of a bust last week. I'm glad that I started Rodgers over him in our Friends of Benefits League. But Pittsburgh is tied for the 4th most points allowed to quarterback per game at 20.1. So after this week, so this is the last week to play Andy Dalton, and then toss him in the garbage like I did to Justin Fields, to hail back to that awful analogy or reference that I don't know what I was doing there. Anyways, so after this week, Dalton gets the Rams, the 49ers, the Bucks, and then a bye week. This is your last chance. Last call for Andy Dalton.
Got it.
Are you going to pick up the phone and answer the call? I am.
All right. Speaking of garbage cans, I'm give you one Jared Goff versus the Chicago Bears.
Jared Garbage.
Goff has been either mediocre or flat out bad lately, but he has had a tough run of awful matchups. New England
and injuries.
Yeah, to his weapons. Yeah.
Yes.
New England, Dallas, and Green Bay account for 3 of his last 4 matchups, of which 2, Dallas and Green Bay, rank top 10 in fantasy points per game given up to quarterbacks. And while the Patriots are more middle of the road in fantasy points given up and in yardage, they are right behind Dallas for league lead in sacks with 33 and 32 respectively. This has get-right game written all over it, with the Bears struggling mightily on defense, which we've already touched on 100 times, as mentioned prior in the St. Brown analysis. The Bears are giving up an average of 42 points over the last 2 weeks, and on the offensive side of the ball for the Bears have scored a bunch of points lately.
The real NFL defense. Sorry, dude. I was what the hell?
Yeah, last 2 weeks. So Dallas. I forget.
Last 2 weeks, the quarterbacks their fantasy quarterbacks have scored 40 points. No, that's what I thought you meant.
The Bears defense themselves have given up an average of 42 points over the last 2 weeks. The defense themselves. And the Bears have scored a bunch of points lately, thanks to Justin Fields breaking out all over the place. The Bears are slight 3-point favorites with a 48.5 point over/under, so I expect a bunch of points. We've already touched on this too. Sorry, folks. I'm just trying to get this off my chest. Similar to St. Brown, pay attention how well this goes because they play again in week 17, aka Championship Week.
It's okay, Chris. You like to touch points. We get it.
I just like to trust the process and.
Of touching points. Yep.
I'm expecting points in this matchup, and
you would like to touch them.
There's 2 bad defenses. That's what I'm saying.
And there's going to be points to have that you can touch.
Yep.
Okay. My sleeper this week, Chris, my deep dark sleeper is Sam Ehlinger, quarterback for the Colts.
Holy mother of God! Are you serious?
No, I'm not actually.
Okay, good. I don't know. I gotta look who they're playing. I don't recall, but I was like,
the Raiders.
This cannot be.
It actually was going to be Sam Ehlinger, but it is actually have 2 of them. I have kind of 2 of them. I'm going to go with one. I'm going to start with my quarterback one first. T-Law or Trevor Lawrence. I'm willing this shit into existence, Chris. Trevor Lawrence is going to have a good game this week against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. Okay.
The Chiefs are giving up the 8th most points per game to quarterbacks at 19.8 points. the most passing touchdowns and the 11th most passing yards in all of the NFL. Trevor Lawrence and Les Snead, I believe the Chiefs' corner is questionable to play this week too. It was very good at the start of the season. It's kind of tapered off. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, he was going to actually be my streamer, and then I left Andy Dalton into my notes. So Trevor Lawrence is one of my sleepers.
Did you say Les Snead?
Yeah.
Legarius, not the GM for.
Is it not Les Snead, the corner?
Les Snead is the GM of the Rams. The cornerback for the Chiefs is Legarius Snead, with a double E, not an EA. Anyway.
Yeah, whatever, Mr. Robert Smith.
I love how that brought up the Vikings. By the way, it was 24 years ago, not 30. I looked it up while you were talking.
I said 20. I didn't say 30.
Dang it.
Ha Price is Right rules makes me right.
That's correct. That's correct. All right, on to my sleeper of the week. We've already touched on it a couple times. Jaylen Warren versus the New Orleans Saints. This is a deep sleeper, folks, no doubt. There's been reports of Warren getting more involved coming off the bye week, and that is usually when teams institute big changes. I'm not saying Warren is taking the starting job yet, but he will be more heavily involved. He has been very efficient with the work he has received, despite operating behind the same inferior offensive line that Najee has been struggling with. Saints just gave up 93 yards and 2 touchdowns to Kenyon Drake last week, and while they were able to hold Josh Jacobs in check the week before that, in Week 7 they gave up 92 yards and a touchdown to Eno Benjamin while averaging 7.7 per carry. I like Warren as a low-end flex this week with some potential upside moving forward. And if you are a Najee manager, get him on your team yesterday.
Can't turn back time, Chris. You're not Cher.
Call Marty McFly and get her done.
All right, my last sleeper, because I somehow came up with 2. This is not quite as much of a sleeper, but Antonio Gibson versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I chose him because it's not a good matchup, and I don't have a lot of stats here, but the Washington, I almost said their former name, the Washington Commanders are going to have to throw the ball to try and keep up with the Eagles. And that's what Antonio Gibson has been doing lately with JD whatever his name is. It's McKissick. It's McKissick, but I liked whatever his name is better. JD McKissick was kind of their pass catching back. He's been banged up. Sounds like he's not going to play. I think he's actually out.
Didn't practice today, Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. So I like Antonio Gibson this week. Brian Robinson is not very good. He hasn't been very good so far, at least.
Back on the Washington.
And I think people are starting to realize it. I think even Washington is starting to realize it too, that Brian Robinson is just kind of a guy. Maybe he's just having a hard time getting caught up to NFL speed, and next year he'll be a little bit better. I mean, He was a what?
Fine. I could give him the benefit of the doubt there. I was just.
I'm just saying that I think that Antonio Gibson despite a bad matchup, is actually a good start this week. Maybe not so much a sleeper as more of like an honorable mention for my running backs.
Honorable mention guy you shouldn't forget about has been playing decent lately, is involved through the air, and is probably going to be playing catch-up mode.
Exactly.
All out of that backfield. You got one more? Or you don't?
No, I'm done, dude. I gave you 9 people.
No, I'm just. That's why I lost.
I did more than you.
I thought you might have 17 more quarterbacks in the chamber there. 17. That was.
We can talk about Geno Smith and
No, I'm good.
Oh man, what's that guy's name? The backup to Matt Stafford, Mark Wolford. You can talk about Wolford. Super C&B Challengers. He says, "Yo, are y'all answering trade questions?"
Fire away.
Go for it.
Just to fill the dead air there.
Don't fart.
I don't know. I don't have any asking for friends that come to mind.
I don't either. Except for, what do you think it would take for me to get? I've been trying really hard to get Travis Kelce in Dynasty, and answer me this, Batman.
Riddle me this, Batman.
I'm riddling you. So, anyways, is Rashad White and 2 second-round picks too much? I think it is.
I don't think it's. I think it's close. I think no. I disagree with you. I do not think it's too much. That would make me think the Kelsey manager is going to smash the accept button, and I think anything short.
No. Oh. He's the one that came up with it. We can come back to it. Let's answer.
Manager. Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. All right. So I just got offered. This is Super CMB Challengers. I just got offered Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Kelsey, and we're giving up Adams and Olave PPR. I can start Palmer, Pickens, Mecole instead of Olave until I get Mike Williams and Jamar back. Oh boy, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, Jamar's a little interesting getting back. This is Mike Williams, to be fair. You're talking about another 2 weeks, maybe at the most for both of them, hopefully.
But he has Josh Palmer and Pickens, and not that I love Mecole Hardman, but he's also getting Amon-Ra, St. Brown,
and Kelsey. If it's not a dynasty, because I love Olave, I also love Amon-Ra. Yeah, I think I do that, CNB. I think I do.
If it's dynasty, yes, but if it's
I love Olave in dynasty also. He's really good.
I think it's a yes regardless of format.
Yep, I think you're probably right. Amon-Ra.
He does say PPR. He does say PPR, but still.
He has to give up Devontae.
That upgraded tight end position is just crucial. You know?
And the last little bit he mentions there with Mike Williams and Jamar coming back, I think that seals it for me. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would push accept on that.
Yeah, I think it's a very fair trade actually.
Yeah, I do too. I think it was well thought out actually.
I think that's a very, very fair trade.
I wish McCall you could play him this week. Or at least you had that fall back on. Man, it's not looking.
But he would have Amon-Ra to play this week instead of Mecole.
Which was my top fave 5 this week. CNB,
yeah.
Subs button is down below. Hit that sub button. We're here every Thursday night at 8 and Sunday morning at 10. What were you saying about the Dynasty Kelsey trade there?
Anyways, so I've been trying to get thanks for chiming in, man.
Thanks, man.
I've been trying to acquire Kelsey in Dynasty, and the Kelsey manager, I was proposing probably trades that were way too low, but you know.
And he sent you 2 seconds and Rashad White.
Yeah, of Rashad White in 2 seconds. I was trying to give up Lenny Fofo because his arrow is pointing down, and why not dump him while he's has some relevance, but I'm also trying to get Kelsey to kind of supplement a week 11 kind of bipocalypse sort of thing that I have kind of mini bipocalypse I have going on, so there's that. But I also have Mahomes too, so I was just like, well, that just like the only reason I don't like this is A, I'm giving up Rashad White, but B, I'm also getting
Kelsey. Oh, go ahead with your B.
I'm thinking that Kelsey's still got another year left in him. Just how good he's playing this year.
I would hope at least 2. I would hope 2.
And my window in Dynasty is probably only this year and next, maybe the year after, maybe.
Seconds, yeah. I mean,
that leaves me as like next to 0 draft picks.
Yeah, I was going to say you gave me a first in 24.
I gave up another first to get Chubb
into your 2023 first. Yeah,
I already and my third rounds are already gone.
Yeah, but you've only lost 1 game and you're a shoo-in for the playoffs. Yeah, I'd probably do it.
So let me pick your brain on this one.
And it helps him too. Obviously, duh.
Yeah. And let me pick your brain on this though. What is Rashad White going to be next year? So Leonard Fournette's maybe not there. What are the state of the Bucks going for the next couple of years? Is Rashad White really going to be that good with potentially a Jimmy Garoppolo / rookie quarterback being there? Because I don't think Brady sticks around for another season. And frankly, I don't know if the Bucks want him to stick around for another season. The offensive line's probably going to get healthy again and better next year.
And they should be better, yeah.
So that would help, but I don't know. I'm just wondering what is the outlook for the Bucks next year,
Yeah, so that's in favor of you pushing the accept button. Okay, yeah. You're using your base, I say draft capital. It's not literally a draft pick, but you just drafted Rashad White. You're much deeper at running back than him. I know there are a bunch of kind of young dart throws, literal rookies. Like you've got both Whites. You've got Rashad White and the Raiders
Zamir
guy.
White.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Which I really like him for next year. I knew it wouldn't be a this year play.
Yeah.
But I really like him
similar
for
to
next year.
Rashad. Yeah, similar to Rashad. Yeah, I think if you want Kelsey, you got to do it. I think it's a done deal.
With having Mahomes, I really want Kelsey.
Oh yeah, you get the stack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when Mark Andrews comes back, I can play both tight ends at the same time.
Oh, you have Andrews in Dynasty also?
Oh,
that's insulting.
And I have Likely too. Which, by the way, I want to say that remember when I texted you on Monday, I was like...
He did nothing else after that touchdown?
He did literally nothing else. He got that one catch for a touchdown.
Yep, I was going to say, I saw the yardage was real low or something like that was in my brain. I was like, that's right. It was nothing else. But hey, that's a tight end one streamer for the week, which is exactly what I made him, I believe, in my streamers that week, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, honestly, I think moving forward, likely he's got a, from what the team has said and what little he's done this year in his rookie season as a tight end, there's promise there for him, Yeah.
And if they have to get rid of him, he can go somewhere, and I know that's risky from fantasy.
I doubt they're going to get rid of him. I think
Agreed.
that if anything moving forward, they're just going to roll it might be a Gronk, Aaron Hernandez sort of thing,
Well, they prefer
and that real flash in the pan that was.
They definitely would prefer big sets. Yeah,
helps the run game too.
Yep.
The 12 personnel sets, if you will.
Alerts aren't working. Mr. CMB did sub, but we did not get an alert, so I'll have to look into that off air. I don't know. You got anything else tonight?
No, I'm feeling pretty scratchy. I'm ready to get out of here.
Sounds good to me. Want to close this out? Or do you want me to do it?
Go ahead.
We have been Amazing Fantasy Football, folks. Thank you, everybody. CNB, Jacob, Kyle, everybody for chiming in on chat. As I mentioned a moment ago to CNB, me and Josh are here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Time for our Fave 5 starters at running back receivers, our streamers at tight end and quarterback, and our sleeper of the week. Sundays at 10 a.m. again, Central, where we give you news. Excuse me, gonna sneeze. Where we give you news and news and injury updates. Ow, excuse me. And,
really need a cough button.
I have one. I did. And apparently that sneeze broke my brain. So no. Where we give you news and injury updates, chat a little bit about last minute lineup questions, and then we move on to the rest of our day and kickoff. Until then, sorry. You can follow me at Chris AFFB. No, gosh darn it, at AFFB Chris.
I wound up my head for that shaking no.
Yeah, it's just like I didn't reach for the mute button. I've got it right here. Somewhere. At AFFB Chris. You can follow Josh at Josh AFFB on Twitter.
For what little I'm going to be left on Twitter. I'll still be there, but
we still have accounts as of now. So we're gonna go, or join the Discord. The link is in the description. Heck, the email address is in the description. You got questions, we are here to answer. Until then, again, we've been Amazing Fantasy Football. Good luck.
Good luck, everyone.